Hi everyone, I'm Gemma and welcome to my first podcast for Pulse Social. This week we're going to be discussing disability sports. Now we all remember the hype of the Paralympics from Tokyo, but statistics show a different picture about sport participation levels of those with disabilities. According to Activity Alliance, 42% of those with disabilities in the UK are classed as inactive, yet 81% of those people would like to be more active. So, the question is, what can be done to elevate those from the disabled community within sports? To answer this, we turn to Emma Cranston, Project Officer at Disability Sports Coach, which is a London-based charity with the aim of increasing sports participation in those with a wide range of disabilities. Emma is responsible for running all of Disability Sports Coach's community clubs, external coaching and training programs, as well as other projects. Emma is also a keen sports person herself, playing and coaching hockey in her free time. So, hi Emma, how are you?
I'm very good, thank you. And thanks for having me.
No, I'm really excited to discuss this today. I've done a lot of research on it, and I think it's certainly a growing issue, isn't it? You know, we've had the Paralympics this year, and I think we all can remember back in 2012 what it was like to have it in London, and there was a real sort of excitement for it.
Yeah, definitely. I think definitely 2012 Paralympics completely blew everyone away. And I've been working kind of within disability sport and inclusion since 2011. And I think it was the first time as well that like friends and more people could really relate and started asking a few more questions about the work that I do, and just having a broader interest in the whole matter.
Yeah, and I think but having looked into this topic a little bit more, it doesn't seem that, although we see all these really amazing people from all sorts of walks of life being able to take part in different sports, amongst sort of the average person, it seems like there is still less people than would be normal amongst the disabled community taking part in sports.
Yeah, definitely. I think like the stat which is thrown about a lot, but here's a true fact is, disabled people are half as likely to be physically active as people kind of without a disability. And I think although the Paralympics is brilliant for exposure, at the same time it really needs to transfer more into more action at the grassroots level and not just looking at elite. It really is, if you have a disability, whatever that may be, it is there a local sports club that you can go to which you feel comfortable and confident to take part in. And the sad thing still for so many people, there isn't. And I think as well, I've only ever personally actually worked in London, as well as, I won't get onto it now, but I've been lucky enough to do some coaching and a project abroad, which was inclusion as well, out in Uganda. But I think in London as well, there's more going on than say Wales or up in Yorkshire. So again, I think looking at the wider scope of the country nationally, really there's a lot of work to be done still, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And that's kind of one of the things I wanted to discuss today, because I've noticed that it seems to be social interaction. I mean, I think we've all suffered a bit, during the pandemic in that respect, but particularly amongst the disabled community. It seems to have been a real problem. According to Sense UK, over half of those with disabilities have reported loneliness. So I really wanted to ask you about your work through Disability Sports Coach, and when you're sort of trying to encourage people to come and use your services, how do you encourage people when typically it might be spread through word of mouth or on social media or whatever? If people don't have large friendship groups, how do you encourage people to come to your events?
So it's a really good question. I think kind of an area which all organisations in our field are constantly trying to improve in and expand reach, because sometimes you see the same people at lots of events or at sessions throughout the week, but the people that we really want to target are those that don't currently attend any sports club or activity in the week. And so I think from my experience, kind of the best ways to try and engage those people is trying to think creatively about. So if if you're not part of a community group, or you don't attend school, or a kind of organised group in the week, where might these people come across information? And we find promoting and kind of going to events that parent forums put on, and like things like Contact a Family. There's also going to like doctor surgeries and kind of community spaces where everyone or majority of people at some point will go to. And I think in terms of putting flyers to say in local surgeries, something that I've done in the past quite a few times across different boroughs. The only thing I would say is a kind of an added challenge with things becoming more digital.
Yeah.
Actually, often people don't want to give out things, or there's not that space to do that. Often people say, "Oh, we'll put it on our website, or we'll send it out for a digital, a mailing letter." And I think that it's a kind of ongoing discussion around, yes, for some people that's brilliant and it will reach a certain amount of people, but for others that have limited literacy skills, that there's no way that they're going to be able to access that internet and kind of be able to understand those forms of communications. And then I think lastly, kind of really targeting, I know I already mentioned parents forums, but parents and or kind of carers groups as well. Often once you build up a good relationship with a carers agency, or that there are quite a few support groups for carers as well, you just have to be proactive in going along to events, asking to kind of attend a meeting and speaking to them about what's going on. And then to some extent, you are a little bit reliant on them then passing on the message and being proactive in bringing their client. But the more you speak to them and the more trust they have in what you provide is quality, and that's something that their client might want to come to, the easier it gets. And it's about kind of consistently plugging away at those contacts and down those avenues.
Yeah, so it really is a community effort then.
Yeah. Sorry, it's probably a bit of a long answer there, but yes.
No.
Yeah.
No, it's by the sounds of it, it means that we all need to do our bit to look after each other, which is a really important thing to get across, I think.
I was just going to say, so that's the thing. I would really urge anyone, if you have a family member or even a next door neighbour, if knowing someone that might benefit from one of our sessions or kind of any inclusive sports session, that they do just share information, or, as you say, everyone doing their bit to really help spread word of what is going on.
Yeah, definitely. So when you're we've said we need to foster this kind of community. So how do you think that sport and your organisation Disability Sports Coach, how do you think you can foster that kind of really inclusive community through sport?
So our community clubs, as you could tell, kind of in the name, really are about people coming along to a public space, if it's a leisure centre or a youth centre where a couple of our clubs opposite operate, coming along to be active, but also about making friends, and just as well us being able to, through our community club network, giving them more information about what else is out there. And I think so often people are much more likely to go along to new opportunities when someone they know and a trusted source recommends it. And I think we've since our community clubs began in 2011, we use them as a platform, not to just build a community, but to help people that attend have awareness of more opportunities, and if they particularly love football, try and help them get involved in a local football team as well. And through, I suppose, delivering multi-sports, which there's kind of a lot of scope for fun games, to do adapted sports such as bocce, to do cricket, athletics, whatever it may be, they can get a taste of all those, and then we can help them find another opportunity where necessary.
Yeah, that makes sense. And so obviously you've kind of briefly mentioned schools and parent groups and all that sort of thing. And actually you do a lot of work within schools, both with SEN and mainstream schools, on lots of different things. You train teachers and you go in and you teach inclusive sports. So when you do that, how valuable is that education in increasing inclusivity, particularly amongst young people, and does it help also to kind of reduce that social isolation and possibly the stigma as well?
Yeah, I think most definitely kind of teachers and coaches. Obviously, teachers are in young people's lives, on a daily basis. The example and the kind of precedent they set really does have a massive impact on how young people will, react to people that might have a physical disability, or just I kind of see it as a kind of a fluid spectrum in terms of anyone that just might seem a little bit different or have an added barrier in whatever they do. And I think the more educated that teachers and coaches can be to tailor sessions to everyone's needs the best they can, but to really make sure that everyone in that session is accepting and taking part and supporting each other. And I think what was the final thing I was going to say? Within teacher training as well. So I'm a trained PE teacher, and we did do a little bit of work on SCN students, but the kind of that part of the course is very, very limited. And I think from what I know, it is the same across most teacher training courses still, whether that is kind of PE or across the board primary training. A lot of primary school teachers do have to teach sport and PE as well. That the education that people are getting is still very limited, and that is kind of something as an organisation for our training courses and through delivering and supporting teachers in schools we're trying to help and change, I suppose.
Yeah. So you sort of briefly mentioned it there, but you do an awful lot of sports yourself in your free time. You're obviously a massive hockey enthusiast, you play it, you coach it. So what's really interested me is when you go in, when you run your community clubs or you're teaching in schools, how have you adapted those kinds of sports that may involve contact or, a lot of physical exertion to suit those with mobility problems?
That's a really, really good question. And it's something which, depending on a group, you're going to have to always kind of think about slightly different adaptations and methods. But some of the main options or the main ways that I make sure that everyone really is included in kind of more contact sports and gameplay is by having different constraints within matches. So you say, well, let's take hockey. You mentioned it, and I was going to have to talk about it at some point, wasn't I? That you can say that everyone has to touch the ball before a goal scored. You can put people in zones that they can't move out of their zones to try and encourage again everyone to touch the ball and not get too close. I also think buddying up people can be really, really good, and or just saying, like, giving a rule that even if it is for two of the kind of 10 people playing, you mustn't get within a few meters of them, say 2 meters, and you can kind of show them how far that is. Yeah. And most people taking part are good at understanding. Like if you tell them and ask them not to do it, that they need to give that person a bit extra space because they need a bit more time, as you say, to kind of move, get in a position to then pass the ball on. I think they're the kind of main ones. Every group will be different, but different constraints. And sorry, the last one, but buddying up, things like if you're buddying up someone with a coach or a volunteer, and that they always get the ball first, and then pass it to them, and then no one's allowed to kind of approach them before either the coach or it's got to someone else. So that's something like that as well.
Yeah, so I mean it's a lot of factors to think about, and I suppose then it goes back to that idea of, education is so important, because if you're a PE teacher in a mainstream school, for example, you may not have come across that wider range of disabilities that you have to consider. So it really goes back to we need to involve more people in that educational process, really.
Yeah, I think I always kind of say to people, like as a teacher or a coach, getting involved in as many different settings and with many different types of, even if it's age groups, abilities, that can only improve your coaching and teaching. Mm-hmm. And I think sometimes people maybe get too comfortable if you say work in a particular school and everyone's fairly able, and then you wouldn't know how to kind of react and adapt if someone that has maybe highly autistic, or as you say, has severe mobility challenges. So it is just trying to get different experience and continually challenging yourself.
Yeah, definitely. And drawing on that, the disability sports coach team itself has a wide range of backgrounds. All of you are either professional sports people, or some of your team have had a lot of experience in advocating for rights of minorities or even disabled people themselves. But one thing I did notice was that quite a few members of your team don't seem to have all that much personal experience in dealing with people with disabilities. So I was wondering how you kind of come up with initiatives and ideas on how to make sure that your services are wide-reaching and really impact those people who benefit from your service in the right way.
Yeah, so we've actually just finished doing consultation for a new strategy, and where we have spoken to parents, members, kind of clients and stakeholders as well. So it's something we're really looking at, making sure that for the next 5 years that we've truly taken in consideration. And I think especially the last couple of years, a lot of plans and avenues of work have been slightly turned upside down and kind of changed. So it's a good opportunity to do that now. From a personal point of view, and I know something which kind of since the time I've been here that we also do our best to do very regularly is like member surveys, and as well just as much as possible getting out and about and talking to our members, talking to our coaches, and also doing community outreach, as well as kind of talking to and getting feedback from people that already come. I think it is definitely really important to try and talk to care groups and or community organisations that have people that don't attend sport or aren't very active, and trying to find out why and kind of what those main barriers are. So it's just continually talking to people, and I think one area as well, which it is something which again there's lots of work going into, but is facility and kind of travel as well, and sometimes especially in London, and I could probably speak for other cities as well, but I imagine London could be one of the most challenging. Is actually the getting there, and what facility is going to be like when you get there. So that's something I know in the early years of when our clubs were set up, that we really did a lot of work and consultation in ensuring that venue, that setting, really was as suitable and inclusive as possible, because otherwise that's already kind of quite a barrier for quite a lot of people before you even start the session and everything that you're wanting to provide for your clients.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's interesting actually that you mentioned places around London, because I sort of obviously looked through some of the organisations that you've worked for, and one of them is Better, which is actually my local gym that I go to just down the road. But which is really great to know, actually. But that I'm actually based in the East Midlands. I'm nowhere near London at all. So what I thought was interesting was that you've definitely obviously worked with organisations that are based all over the country, and would you ever consider expanding your services beyond London?
Most certainly. It's something which we're really keen and would love to do. I know that kind of my CEO has already had quite a lot of conversations, especially with Better and some organisations in kind of the home counties, in terms of taking our community clubs there as well, and I suppose as well linked to the work that we started to do with you guys at Pulse Social. We're starting to license out and empower kind of partners to take over more of the management of the clubs. So that hopefully should be and is a massive step forward in terms of being able to deliver more of these clubs over a larger geographical distance. And then secondly, like training courses, we do already deliver training courses nationally, and I know that during kind of COVID, the courses have taken a little bit of a pause, but we're kind of re-advertising them and getting them back ready so that we can hopefully take them all around the country.
Yeah, because I know that in the Midlands particularly, even just sort of community sports in general is often really quite underfunded. So I can't imagine programs for those who have extra needs as well. So it would be really great, to see some of your team coming up here and expanding. Really, that would be great.
Yeah, no, fingers crossed you'll see us up there soon.
Yeah, that would be amazing. And I mean, having said that, I think one thing that I think maybe the pandemic helped in a way is for everybody to move online. And you have actually expanded your programs. It's called Active at Home. And you do things like Zoom fitness sessions now, don't you?
Yes, yeah. So we had to react pretty quickly, kind of like the rest of the world, when suddenly lockdown 1 was upon us, and we had to close all our community clubs and kind of all in-person delivery. And so we started by setting up kind of online sessions, including, I think originally we had like social Saturdays, and then we had 3 different sports sessions during the week. And to be honest, at the start, it was a real learning curve for us, in terms of, we hadn't delivered sport online before, and it was actually it was really quite exciting and a fun experience. But I think what made that fun is actually being able to see a lot of our community club members, and we reached a lot of new people as well, coming along, really enjoying it, and we were able to keep connected with everyone. And actually, there's some young people and their families that we probably built up even stronger rapport, because one, they, it was the time they needed that continued social interaction and kind of to keep active more than ever. And so, we could have got to know some people in a slightly different way, rather than just playing sport and seeing them in kind of one setting. So it was really, really good. And then since it began, we've obviously, through learnings and speaking to people, the program's evolved, and we still deliver a yoga and a dance session every week, and do quizzes as well. So it's still going strong, and running alongside all our other programs.
Yeah, and I was really interested in the monthly quizzes that you do on Fridays, and it's going back to that idea of fostering that community. And I think that's really important, and it's a really great thing that you do that. And do you see good attendance at that?
Yeah, the quiz is really, really popular, and again, it's good fun. I mean, there are amazingly amount of 10 out of 10s some weeks, which we do question. But it's all about just getting together, having a laugh, and hopefully, I suppose, learning a few new facts, but really just getting together. And then we normally end, or especially when I host it, we also have a music round at the end, and there's always people that like to get up and dance as well. So just a good vibe.
Yeah, no, that sounds really lovely. And just to kind of help get the word out there, really, I know that you really engage with a lot of volunteers and have a good volunteering program. So I just wondered if you'd like to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure. So all our community club sessions, and I didn't actually mention that at the beginning, but we have 14 currently across London. They all have a head coach that is kind of a qualified and experienced coach, and then all are supported by volunteers. And some volunteers are professionals that just want to give back. Quite a lot are young people that have disabilities themselves that are interested and wanting to get into sports coaching. So that's amazing as well to see. And a few of the volunteers even come from members that just come along initially as participants, take part. Then as they get a little bit older, we kind of see something in them which we think they could give more, and they just want to have sport as a potential avenue. And then we kind of train them and turn them into volunteers, but give them that opportunity to have a slightly bit bigger role in their club. And I think across the year as well, we lots of volunteers are amazing and support events. And then I think just as I'm sure you're aware, in small organisations, volunteers are absolutely integral, and we're very, very grateful for everything they do.
No, that's fantastic. And I think that the more you encourage people to come and see what you do, the more the message gets out there about what you do, and about how we can really raise the bar for people from the disabled community, and just involve them in every aspect of sport.
Most definitely. And I think I think it's, again, and going back to what you were kind of saying about education, I think again, for a lot of people, we had a new volunteer yesterday at Club Wandsworth, where I coach, and it was just a guy who coaches football and is a keen basketball player, and through kind of a family member, he had an interest in disability, and she just wanted to come down and kind of give back and help. And like for him, he was saying, absolutely lovely group, and I learned lots. And again, you say it's just in further educating and spreading awareness. And And then it means that anyone that comes and volunteers at our clubs, hopefully in another setting they might coach in, or just in general life, they'll have those experiences and kind of increase skills to be able to help and give back.
Yeah, definitely. I could speak about this all day, because I think it's an area that's experiencing a lot of really interesting developments. But having said that, I think we'd better leave it there for today.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I can talk a lot as well, so we'll.
No, I've really enjoyed our conversation today, and thank you so much for taking part.
No, thank you so much, Gemma. Yeah, it was good fun.
Lovely. Thank you a lot. Bye,
Yeah,
everyone.
no worries. Bye.